first year of the war. And October 21st, General of the Army, Winfield Scott, sent General Kelly a message. And just said, General Kelly, who was in Grafton at the time, proceed with your command to Romney. Assume command of the Department of Harper's Ferry and Cumberland until the arrival of Brigadier General Lander. Now, we think of getting an order like that. He doesn't even say there's a force in Romney. He just says, go to Romney, take command, move your command there. Now, at this time, General Kelly is protecting the B&O Railroad, and they're rebuilding it from being destruction by Jackson and various other military units, southern military units that have kept the train from running all the way from Baltimore to Wheeling. So Kelly doesn't get the message for another couple of days. 22nd October, he gets a message and he's like, okay, I need to get to Romney. Now, being he's head of the railroad district, he also is responsible for keeping the railroad safe. So how many people is he going to pull off of the railroad district here and go to Romney? And is he going to uncover the part of the railroad that has been rebuilt and protected now? Winfield Scott Hancock, Winfield Scott, the General of the Army. This may be his last command that he sends out to a field unit, because he will retire on 1st November, and General McClellan, the hero of Rich Mountain, will be taking command of all Union forces. Now, who's this Lander guy? Frederick Lander. At this time, he's a brigadier general. During the Battle of Ball's Bluff, he is at Edwards Ferry, and he gets hit by a shell in the leg. Wound that he recovers from, kinda, but he really doesn't recover from this wound. This wound will eventually kill him. Kelly, oops, I didn't mean to move yet.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay. Kelly and Lander are familiar with each other. Lander was a volunteer aide with no rank at the Battle of Philippi, and he accompanied Kelly on the assault on Philippi. In fact, Lander rode down the hill that some of the soldiers said was the most daring and exciting ride they'd ever seen. Lander, also no rank, still volunteer aide, is at the Battle of Rich Mountain. And he is there on a rock yelling and cussing at the Confederates that he's going to come down there and beat them. Quite a man. Everyone knew Lander at this time. He was an explorer. He'd surveyed for a transcontinental railroad. Lander, Wyoming. A lot of places named after him out west. This man's no coward. And then he married Miss Davenport, who was at that time probably the Shirley Temple of the United States. She was a stage actress, and quite a man, quite a man. Now he's a brigadier general, but he is in D.C., wounded, recovering from that before he takes over Harper's Ferry and Cumberland. Benjamin Franklin Kelly. Kelly lived in Wheeling most of his life. He Was born in New Hampshire. He moved to Wheeling and became a merchant there. He also census taker, and he was colonel of the militia unit there. He is asked to come to Wheeling and to take command of the 1st Virginia Union Infantry, which is involved in the Battle of Philippi. Kelly plans the Battle of Philippi, which the plan was that he would come in at the southern end of the town, southeastern end of the town, and capture the Confederates as they're retreating. Well, the fog of war, and this was in June 3rd. Most of these men that he was leading had only been in the army for 45 days. They barely knew where their bunk was. They came in for 3 months, and they're gone now. So now we've got 3-year men that you're going to see in this battle. Few 3 months, but most of them are 3-year men. Kelly starts gathering his command. He put some, asked him to go to New Creek, present-day Kaiser, and he has a plan that he's going to attack Romney, coming out what is present-day US 50, and from Patterson Creek, Thomas Johns, commanding the 2nd Maryland Potomac Home Brigade, is going with about 700 men, attack from the rear, coming through Springfield, coming across the Wire Bridge, and cutting off the Confederates as they're retreating to Winchester. That is, that would be the assumed route. Okay, most important thing here, Romney's here, and then this dark black line is the Baltimore Ohio Railroad. Okay, I've already answered the question, why Romney? Because of Baltimore Ohio Railroad. But stay with me a while, we'll talk about it a little more. Goes from Baltimore, also goes to Washington, D.C., then across Harper's Ferry, Cumberland, Grafton. At Grafton, it turns north, goes to Wheeling, and it ends on the Ohio River at Wheeling. Northwest Virginia Railroad was built just after the Baltimore, Ohio, and it goes from Grafton to Parkersburg. This strategic railroad moves troops from the west, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, that was the west, moves them to Washington, D.C., the seat of war in Virginia. Like I said, it's the only railroad, east-west railroad, that goes into Washington, D.C. So this is what Kelly has to protect, and also go after Romney, take command there. Okay, so he doesn't want to take all of his people off of the railroad, so he starts moving. Company A, 1st West Virginia Cavalry, formed in Morgantown. They'll be known as Kelly's Lancers. They add to a lot of confusion because they're detached from the regiment, and there ends up being 2 Company A's. Later on, it gets a little confusing on where men are report to. Company H, 3rd West Virginia Infantry. They will become mounted infantry later on and will become 6th West Virginia Cavalry. Company K, 4th West Virginia Infantry, formed around New Creek area, what is now Mineral County, at the time Hampshire County. They'll eventually go out, fight Vicksburg under General Lightburn. 7th West Virginia Infantry formed, company formed in Morgantown, company formed in Preston County. They were led by a politician by the name of Evans, James Evans from Morgantown. He's 60-some years old. Too difficult for him to take the field. So the commander will become General Kelly's son, who is John Goshorn Kelly. 8th Ohio Infantry, 9 companies of that. Ringgold Cavalry. They were in the Romney area for a lot of the war. They're from Washington County, PA. And then we've got a couple of guns they're going to bring with them. They're going to bring a 6-pounder. These 10 men are infantrymen that they pulled out and put on the gun. 4th Ohio, under Colonel Mason, they are in Fort Pendleton when Kelly asked them to move. Gormania area, right there, and they're protecting the Northwest Turnpike, Route 50. One section of Battery A, 1st West Virginia Light Artillery. These guys, Dom is going to command them. He's a German, very good artilleryman. I believe, I haven't been able to trace this exactly, but I believe this section, these 2 guns here, had just fought at the Greenbrier River on October 3rd, 1861, where they had a Bartow, Greenbrier River, I think they had another name, but they had fought an artillery duel with the Confederates there. Travelers Repose, it's also called. Jackson stopped there and loved their trout when he was traveling from Lexington to visit his sister in Beverly. Then 2nd Potomac Home Brigade, which is in Springfield. Now all these others, well, except for Mason and his 4th Ohio guys, the others are in New Creek, Kaiser. Okay, now, who do we have here in Romney? Angus MacDonald, 62 years old, a West Point grad, 1817. So he's up in years. He's commanding the 7th Cavalry, 7th Virginia Cavalry, Confederate States, and we've got the 77th Militia, 114th Militia. We've got one 12-pound howitzer, one rifled 6-pounder. Some of these 6-pounders were from Mexican War vintage, 1846. And some of them they brought back and they rifled these things. Most of them they left as smooth bores. After 1860, well, half of 1862, you don't see them anymore. And then a mystery here is 2 4-pounders. I don't know where these came from, don't know what happened to them. I have a theory on that, but anyway, there's 2 4-pounders here also. Were they fired? Were they used? I don't know. Okay, let's assess where we are here. Our destination is Romney, right here. And we've got Kelly's command, which is in New Creek, Kaiser, Pattytown. So it throws a wrench here on that. And then out here you've got Mason's 4th Ohio Infantry. So they're going to start marching. Okay, they'll start first. They have the farthest to go, and they'll march out, and with the road junction to New Creek, they're going to stop there and wait for Kelly. Kelly moves his command down. They're nice fall day. This will, after Kelly's fight at Romney, that's going to kind of end. It's going to start raining in here, and the soldiers talk about how muddy and nasty the roads were. And then it gets colder. Okay, and they start marching. They're moving on Romney. And at this same time, moving down from Harrison Creek on Potomac River, Thomas John's 2nd Maryland Potomac Home Brigade, they are moving in. So what the plan is, Kelly's going to move on Romney. Johns will move across the wire bridge and block the retreat route that way, so hopefully cut off all the retreat. But you've got Northwest Turnpike going to Winchester. Winchester's about 40 miles away, less than 50. So,
I have a question, Rick. Unless I'm looking at this wrong. What's the coming out of Romney going west, across the river, and you got an intersection there? Is that Fox Hollow Road, or that's a road, that's on the west side of the river? What road is that?
I do not know.
I think it is
No.
Fox Hollow Road, because there was a ford there,
That would make sense.
and that's where they threw the rocks down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
One
so
of us, they were fording the
it
river.
came through the gap and went right, instead of turning left. All right, I got you. That's plausible.
That'd have to be a ford there.
Yeah.
It was not a bridge. Okay.
Well, that's another good question. So across the South Branch, that wasn't a covered bridge at the time?
Which one?
Going across the South Branch out of Romney?
Here?
No, where the road is.
Here. There's a wire bridge there. That's a suspension bridge.
Here.
I don't think so. Because that wire bridge is up here, isn't it?
Yeah, over the South Branch going
Yes.
north.
Yeah.
So these
I
guys.
think that's got to be a ford.
Okay.
And then, now there is a covered bridge down here.
Okay.
They'll go across that covered bridge.
See, so there's South Branch. Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay?
Yep. So, yeah, Kelly's coming across the covered bridge there, the main crossing in the road.
Yes.
Yes, gotcha. Temple.
Go ahead. Okay, let's look at some of our guys here. Captain Keyes, John Keyes, he's got the Ringgold guys. Very good soldier, very good. I just had to put this photograph up. I mean, isn't that a great cavalry shot there? John McGee, Dennis from Morgantown. He commands the 1st Company A, 1st West Virginia Cavalry. Later on, he will be the colonel of the 3rd West Virginia Cavalry. Just great cavalry shot there. Go ahead. The one that has a 4th Ohio at Fort Pendleton. John Kelly, this is General Kelly's son. He is leading the 8 companies of 1st West Virginia, 7th West Virginia Infantry. The company, easy there.
Yeah.
James Dayton, he is in command of the 4th West Virginia, Company K, 4th West Virginia Infantry. He will later become colonel of the 4th. Notice the 4 down there on his chest. These are the only unit that I see with these big 4s. I think they had them made out in Vicksburg area, and but you'll see quite a few photographs of these guys. Now, did they have 2 or 3 of them and just give them to whoever was getting his picture taken? Maybe, I don't know. There is one of those that's in existence. Okay, now here we're getting ready to assault Romney. Here's our covered bridge down here. Confederates are going to fortify this area here. The Indian Mound Cemetery, they're going to put a couple of guns in there, artillery pieces, and they believe that they can hold off infantry. Now, Kelly's got just under 2,000 men with him. That includes, that's with him. And then there's another 700 that Colonel Johns has that's coming in from Springfield area. Okay, Kelly is marching out Northwest Turnpike, present day 50. And they get stopped. Confederate skirmishers are out there, fire on them. They're in column, so Kelly's trying to deploy his men. He's calling for the artillery pieces to come up. He pulls artillery pieces forward, and they chase the skirmishers back to Romney. Kelly will continue moving very slowly out the Northwest Turnpike. This is over a mile and a half from Romney, where they first encountered Confederate assault. The skirmishers, Confederate skirmishers, will keep taking shots at them, but those couple of case shot rounds will kind of convince infantry to move back a little bit. A little too close.
So, you know about how many Confederates,
I'm sorry?
how many Confederates were out there in that skirmish line?
I don't know how many were out in the skirmish line. Total, McDonald had about 800 or so. McDonald did not write a report after this. Kelly wrote a very thin report, so we don't have real good information on number that were there, number that were killed. You know, I'm putting together numbers of how many was in each unit when Kelly put them together, and I would say skirmishers, he had over 30, I would say, he would send out there. Okay, well, go ahead. Okay, Confederates in their position, guarding the Northwest Turnpike. Yes?
Let me ask what, I always understood that they went from Kaiser, or we always got the shortcut, because they got one of those roads named Lew Wallace Lane, Lew Wallace Road.
Well,
I never understood they came through Burlington on Route 50, the Northwest Pike. That's what I always understood.
Yeah, that's, you're talking about 50 there.
Yeah.
And that would be there about Bound Harbors before you get to yeah.
So I think, see, that cuts off quite a few
It
miles.
does, going over toward Beaver Run, like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
They joined up, Kelly and Mason joined up, and they camped for the night, or gave, I don't know, about like 5 hours rest. So I'm not sure. Now, Lou Wallace had come the previous June. We're going to see a sketch done.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, go ahead. Okay, here's the assault and the retreat onto Winchester after the battle. Kelly gets close to the bridge. These guys are artillery in place. His infantry, they're not doing much. They're firing a little bit, but they're keeping their heads down, and it's pretty much an artillery duel. John Keyes and John McGee will say, look, we can charge our horses across that the fords there on either side of the bridge. Now Keyes will come across and he'll position himself on the Romney side before the battle starts. He's in a position where the artillery cannot touch him, and he's upstream. Get confused here. He's upstream of the bridge, and then on the other side, McGee is going to charge at the same time, and then the infantry is going to charge across the bridge. So Kelly gives all credit to their cavalry, 2 cavalry companies that he had assault the works on Indian Mound Cemetery. These guys break off, they retreat out back in the town about where the Northwest Turnpike goes through and turns to Winchester. They tried to put up a defense there, but they couldn't get the artillery loaded, and they were pretty much overrun by the cavalry. Now, what's happening up here at the Wire Bridge? Well, they're launching their attack when they hear Kelly's firing down here. They get halfway across the bridge and realize that the planks have been pulled up. So they're stopped there. They had 1 person killed, 6 wounded, left some. We did get a little report from Confederates. They left 6 Mississippi rifles on the bridge and a bunch of caps. And 1 dead. Well, it was a private that was killed. Confederates said they left a fat sergeant that couldn't be pulled off there. So go ahead.
There it is.
Here's a sketch of the Iron Bridge, or the Wire Bridge. This wasn't done at the time of the battle. This was done when Kelly, who was already in Cumberland, retreated out of Romney, and this was done in January of '62. This one, Lander was in command there, and Jackson was moving on Romney. Same thing, this was not done at the time of this fight. This was done in June when Lew Wallace moved into Romney. But anyway, you get the idea though. The same bridge, Interesting, it was a two-lane bridge going across there. A lot of the others bridges were single lanes that were built on turnpikes. So, 26 October 1861, Battle of Romney's done. Union's in command. Confederates, they lost their guns, they lost some supplies. McDonald lost his carriage, which was presented to Kelly. The fight did not come out the way Kelly planned it, did not capture a bunch of Confederate prisoners, just a handful were captured. Artillery pieces were captured. 4-pounders and the 6-pounder and the 12-pound howitzer. Kelly sets up headquarters in Romney. Real nice days, but then it turns, and it's bad when the Union will leave here in January '62, and Jackson comes in. Jackson doesn't stay. He leaves Loring behind, and Jackson goes back to Winchester for the winter. Go ahead. Okay. Here we are at Romney, and then look at this. These are streams that flow into the Potomac. We've got, what do we got here? I can't read it. Anyway, you've got New Creek here, Patterson Creek, the South Branch, various other streams here. And everywhere one of those streams are, a railroad crosses it, so they've got to put a bridge, culvert, trestle, something in there. So by controlling Romney, you can cut down on the attacks by Confederate guerrillas on the railroad. Not go ahead and but you go cut them down a little bit. Without controlling Romney, and notice there's a mountain ridge between these streams, so that gives a lot of protection. And this, and the valley, the very important valley here. Let's see. Go ahead. A few days after Kelly gets here, he issues a proclamation to the people of Hampshire County and Upper Potomac. It's pretty much like McClellan's proclamation when he entered into Western Virginia. You know, we're here to protect you. We're not here to take your property including slaves. As long as you are peaceful, we're peaceful. If you're not peaceful, they're going to come down on you. They expect everybody to take oath of allegiance. Okay, the Union had one death on Kelly's command, not to mention John's one soldier he had killed. Anyway, this is Jesse Taylor. He was a private in Company F, 7th West Virginia Infantry. He is from Jollytown, Pennsylvania. Anybody ever been to Jollytown, Pennsylvania?
No.
Ever heard of Brave, Pennsylvania? No? You ever heard of Morgantown, West Virginia? Okay. West of Morgantown, off Route 7, Blacksville, just across the West Virginia border in Pennsylvania, is a community called Jollytown. It is small, very small. But they Many of the soldiers from Company F came from that area. They mustered there, in fact, at the church. Well, Jesse Taylor was a young man. He is admired by everyone in Jollytown, that area, and he was admired by his fellow soldiers. But he did have a mouth on him. He bragged that he was going to kill a Confederate soldier, cut his heart out, and roast it. The first volley, Jesse Taylor is killed. Years after the war in the 1880s, his comrades put a monument up to Jesse Taylor. Remember I said Jollytown was small? Well, it's smaller now. Well, here in a town of under 100, you have this monument, an 1861 Parrott gun, 2 mortars. I read about this, about the Ringgold Cavalry. They talked about it in the book Dear Esther. So I was like, okay, let me go see this. I drive up there, and I mean, well, one thing, I kept driving out this 1-lane road, and I stopped a guy who was walking. I said, Jollytown? He said, keep going. I said, okay. And there's a Methodist church sitting here beside of this. I assume this is the same Methodist church where they mustered this company out. Anyway, it's amazing. The VFW takes care of it, but in the middle of nowhere. Okay, just got a couple of little things here and we'll go
So
over.
that picture, you took that picture, that statue?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Well, I went there in '98. That was the first time. That picture, I think, right there came from. We just repainted the artillery piece. It was the Morgantown Round Table painted it. That's not falling on the top. Ah, okay. Remember I said that Winfield Scott was on his way out? Kelly believed this was a very important place. Very important. He sends a report to the commanding officer of all Union forces, George B. McClellan, on the 6th of November. He references a map. I don't know if McClellan can read a map, but anyway, he references a map. And he says that this place controls Hardy, Hampshire, Pendleton, and Highland counties, and that these are Union counties. He said that if the citizens are treated right, and then he says that the railroad is 16 and 28 miles circle from Romney, that stretches 60 miles. And he said that if they would reinforce Romney, that he could move on Winchester, or he could move on, get behind Allegheny Johnson down in Highland County. He cites the roads, what kind of great condition they're in. This November '61. By December '61, it's not going to be that way. Nothing's ever done about this. Lander comes in and takes command on the 6th of January after a fight with Jackson at Hancock. Lander comes in and takes command. Then he realizes that he doesn't have enough men, and Jackson's coming after him. So in a terrible storm, he evacuates Romney, goes to Paw Paw, and then he'll fight on the 14th of February at Bloomington Gap, Bloomington Iron Furnace, and then Lander dies at Romney, and why this was an important place. Now you know that after later on they'll build Mill Ridge, which is a better place to defend. Romney's just as bad as Harper's Ferry. You can't defend it in the town. Just not, there's too many hills around it. That's it.
I really appreciate it, Rick.
My pleasure. Thank you.
One question, what's the date on the action at North River, Hanging Rock, when Jackson was at Hancock? You know what I'm talking about? And that was Angus McDonald was involved, or
yes.
Union moving toward the east.
It's January 6th.
Okay.
Yeah. Union assaults there. Now, my contention is that Jackson knew that was happening and he pulled back so he did not get surrounded or cut off. Gary Eckelbarger used to believe that too, but I talked to him last weekend, and he says, you know, it's a good story, he said, but I think Jackson was pulling back before that battle happened. Anyway, that's yeah, that was January 6th. And now Kelly was in Cumberland at that time. His wounds started hurting him. He was going to resign as soon as he was going to take a leave of absence as soon as Lander took over.
Okay.
So he was directing Dupree, I think.
On the Union.
No. Whoever commanded 5th Ohio, Dumont maybe, commanded those guys.
So there's a thing at the light there saying Romney changed hands 50 odd times.
By definition.
It's hard to say, 50 odd times. I mean, do they count it when McNeil rode through here with Kelly and Crook? I don't know. In Devastating Hand of War, Richard Sowers kind of, he cuts that number down. But he gives specifics on what what you had to do to control it before it was counted as
So
in command.
Is it safe to assume that for law of the war, neither army was in Romney?
The what?
That neither army was in Romney?
No, they were.
Or there was normally at least one army in
You
Romney?
can see the tents in the
Yeah,
background of the Union.
Union commanded from 26th of October until when did Lander retreat out of here? January something. It was a storm when he retreated, and in fact I think they left some wounded soldiers behind. And then Jackson took it. Jackson was only here a short period of time, and he left Loring in command. Loring stayed here, and Loring kept saying, I'm about ready to be attacked. Well, Lander was at Paw Paw planning an attack. And so Loring, that's when the whole kerfuffle happened between Loring and Jackson, and what's his name, Judah Benjamin got involved in it and told Loring to go ahead and pull his men back. Jackson resigned. Lee talked Jackson into staying.
Well, the Union had burned what we call Frenchburg.
Okay, that was on the
That-
6th of January,
Yeah.
yes.
And that,
And when Jackson was coming through, there's a comment that while the houses were,
Yep.
and there were a bunch of mills there. And said that the houses were still burning.
yeah. And Bob too, probably, I don't know whether this shows up in the record or not, but there's a lot of tradition saying that the various churches were occupied, the Presbyterian Church was stable. In Joshua Winter's diary, he speaks about the horses sticking their heads out the windows, and a lot of the houses in Romney not having any windows. That was at the war stage, and that was in the transition between the Union forces and Jackson coming in, vice versa.
And you can make out when that's enlarged, burned out, they're obviously brick buildings.
Now,
Rather large that were burned out.
see, I don't know when this was done. Wad became a sketch artist attached to the Army of Potomac. So he had to have gotten in here when the first was in here, which was after November '61. 54th Pennsylvania was in here at about that same time. And you've seen the sketch of Fort Mill Ridge and Romney, and that's an outstanding piece of work that
Yeah.
Lucian Gray did.